Welcome. My name is Dénes Zarka and I will make a presentation of examples of digital pedagogy. This presentation is about the use of Moodle wiki activity. The aim of this presentation to offer a classic tool in a collaborative learning to feed trackable co-creation of digital documents. I made this presentation for trainers and teachers who have experience on traditional individual activities in Moodle. The learning time is depending on your interest. It may vary from 15 minutes listening to 1.5 hours of learning and doing by creating your new wiki, provided you have administrator rights to a Moodle system, or editing your wiki if you have learner access to Vocal Moodle portal where we have created one. 3 parts of this presentation is about wikis, which is an introduction, a technical settings part, and a working example where I will show a real wiki. The whole presentation is an open educational resource. This presentation is intended to be freely used by learners or trainers embedded in their own tuition attributing the resource, so you can use it freely as well. What are the wikis? Wikis are websites on which users collaboratively modify content and structure directly from the web browser, like the Wikipedia. Wiki means quick in Hawaiian language. In a typical wiki, text is written using a simplified markup language and often edited with the help of a rich text editor. In Moodle, there are 3 main types: the Creole language, the NVIC language, and the HTML editor language, which is an HTML protocol. Wiki, with its wiki software, which is called WikiWeb, was invented by Ward Cunningham in the USA in 1995 as the earliest example of a widely used collaborative software. It is very well spread in the world. The first big use in the world of wikis is collaborative and ongoing documentation of almost everything, but mostly IT fields. The second big use of wikis are encyclopedias like the Wikipedia or Wikiversity, WikiAnswers, WikiHow, WikiTree, and other wikis. But there are also many individual wikis, because many people like the protocol that can be easily used. But our focus is the learning. How can we use wikis for group or collaborative learning? 2 main uses are information distribution or group work. For information distribution, the very good side of wiki is that we can handle dynamic data. For example, if we have course-related frequently asked questions, then we can develop this FAQ by adding new answers. The same is true for the knowledge base for specific course-related topic. When the beginning there is a smaller knowledge base, and as time goes by we have a larger and a larger knowledge base, may be developed by the learners themselves. And of course we can set up wikis for the help of the learners. A more sophisticated use is the group work, when we can conduct an educational research project or to write a collaborative publication paper. I will show an example which is similar to that. We can also find a group of solutions to a given problem collaboratively, or to develop technical methodological standards. We can collect experience in defined fields, and we can gather requirements for a new service or product. Those are just examples, and let's see how Moodle itself is helping us for the use of wikis. So in Moodle we can find similar but in a way different uses of wiki, like for group lecture notes or study guides, for members of a faculty to plan a scheme of work or meeting agenda together. It is also good for students to collaboratively author an online book, creating content on a topic set by their tutor. That is the use that we have quoted before. For a collaboratively storytelling or poetry creation, when each participant writes a line or a verse. And finally, as a personal journal for examination notes or revision, using an individual wiki. Those are the suggestions of the Moodle system itself. When we create a new wiki tool in a course page, we have set the first things. For example, we have to give a name to the wiki and then a description of the wiki. We have to set the wiki mode. There are two modes, collaborative or individual mode. In individual mode, only one user can edit and develop the wiki, while in collaborative mode, all the registered users can co-create the text or the HTML page. We have to give the first page name, it is compulsory, which will be the starting point for our wiki. We have to define the default format of the wiki, and we can choose from three typical markup languages: the HTML language, the Creole language, and MWiki language. We can decide whether we use forced mode, when only one editing markup language can be used, or each learner can choose from the three anytime. The most spread use nowadays is HTML format, while there are many experienced wiki users who still prefer older markup languages, and for that reason the other two is also in use. Then we have many other Moodle settings which are not typically wiki settings, but we can set here as well, like common module settings or restrict access from different IP addresses, or we can define tags and competencies to the wiki activity. When we are in the wiki area, we can see a tabbed view, and in this tabbed view there are many different tabs. The first what we see is the view, which means the view how the learners or other users from outside can see our wiki page. The second is the edit page. This is almost the most important page, when we can modify the content of the wiki, delete or insert new lines. Then there is a separate comment page when we can leave our comments, for example after editing. Then there is a history page, which is very useful to track what has happened before, and every entry is in the history page, and we can select between two randomly selected versions, and the system will show you what is the difference between the two versions. If we make a complicated hierarchy of HTML pages or wiki pages, there is a map tab where we can see the different wiki pages linked together. Then we have a files page. If we have used earlier defined wiki pages, we can upload and download them in the files tab. And finally there is an administration tab, which is not visible for users, only to administrators, where you can delete wiki pages which are not in use or for any other reasons I will show you. Here you can see our example, which is about volcanoes. You can see the edit page, and this is in HTML format. It is quite easy to understand. Let's talk about a typical example, and I was thinking of an interesting topic: volcanoes. If you are in the system, here is the link for the wiki that was created. Our example is a collaborative article on volcanoes. Let's say it is an entry-level example. In this example, there is a plan, and then we split the different parts of desk research, and each group member have to work out one chapter of the paper. The draft article will be peer-reviewed systematically, chapter by chapter, by the group members. Let's see what are the entry points. So the starting structure that we are splitting among the group is definition of the volcano, the type of volcanoes, volcanoes in the history, famous volcanoes in the world, dormant volcanoes, which means that volcanoes that are not functioning, and finally the literature. That's what I will show to you in a minute. Here is the web page where we can see the already designed volcanoes wiki, and I will click on it. I will scroll it up so that you can see the view page of this wiki. I call this wiki page as Volcanomania, and you see the different chapters of the article that we want to write: volcanoes, definition, description, type of volcanoes, and I've already started to fill it in my own job because I was appointed to write about the type of volcanoes. So I started with the eruption types, and then we will go with the shapes. Then we have a chapter in volcanoes in history, famous volcanoes, dormant volcanoes, and so on. If you look at this page, you will see that there is an automatically created table of contents. When I entered the planned chapters, I edited it so that the volcanoes as the main heading got a heading style, and all the other chapters are second headings, so the system made a distinction of it. And if you see the eruption types and others are normal texts. Let's look at how it looks like in the editing tab. I click on it. Yes, and once I have clicked on it, I scroll it up, and you will see an HTML editing page where you can see the different chapters. I will show you how I modified it, because the first modification was that I realized that the description of the volcanoes was missing. So after the definition and before the type of volcanoes, I inserted description. Of course, this wiki is already a little bit long, so there is a scroll down possibility at the right end of the HTML editor. and you see very simple buttons to use. For example, this button is showing the different heading types: heading large, heading medium, heading small, which is first, second and third level heading. We have pre-formatted and paragraph head as well. The first button is helping you if you want to make more sophisticated HTML editing. That will switch on many more possibilities that we leave for a moment now. The third tab on the top of the page is the Comments tab. I scroll it up, and if you look at it, I left a comment from the chapter list. An important part was missing: description. I wrote it when I edited the first wiki page. Now the next tab is very important. This is the history map. Look at this history map. There are 9 versions of the wiki page, and all of the versions are visible if you click on the number. I will just show you the first version, so I compare with no one of the other pages, just show you how it looks like. And here it is. There is a definition and type of volcanoes, but the description is missing from here. I'm clicking back. With this type, we can compare different versions. Let's compare the third version with the final version and compare selected. In those two tables you can see the differences between the two versions, the third and the 9th version. The next tab is the map, and if you look at it, there is a Volcanomania page and a shapes type page. That page was made to show you an orphan page. I was thinking of making a shapes type page, which is a sub wiki page. I will show you. That is talking about the different shapes of volcanoes, but later I decided not to use a different wiki page, so I just deleted from the page. However, I will need those titles, so I'm copying it out. I go to the edit page, which is this page, so I have to go to the volcanoes page, which is on the map, and I will go to Volcanomania. And when we are in Volcanomania, we edit it. Yes. We scroll it down. We enter the cursor under shapes. We enter and we paste it. And as the first type is eruption types, we also make a bulleted list. Once it is ready, we save it. We can also preview it. You see, we have the shapes here. I made the mistakes because the shapes are not in the bulleted list. Anyway, we have entered something, and then we will see the history again. If you look at it, we have already 10 versions because I have edited this wiki page. I will show you then the files page. There are no files available because I have created brand newly and I didn't use wiki files from historic archives. And finally, there is an administration tab which can be visible only for the administrators. Here the system is showing you the shapes type because this is an orphan page. That means that this subpage doesn't have any entry point because it was deleted from the main page. So this administration page is suggesting you that you are deleting it. But if you want to see all the pages, then you can see all the 2 I have created, but you can go back to the orphan page by clicking on the orphan. That's it. This administration page is completely missing when you are not an administrator. Let's look at it, and I will change my role to student role. Yes, you can see the view page again, but here after files you don't have the administrator rights, so you can modify many things but you can't delete pages. This is the difference between an editor and the student who is editing a wiki page set by the tutor. And here there is a new feature, is the printer friendly version if the documentation that you are preparing is worth printing. I think I have finished the presentation of the wiki, and I encourage you to look at this wiki page in the Vocal Erasmus portal and make some additions on it and look at the differences. If you have editing rights, administrative rights to any other Moodle portal, you can create your own pages. And this is just a slide that I thank you for your attention. Bye bye.